Hi everyone, and welcome to another YouTube video. My name is Nathan, and as always I want to say thank you guys for watching, thank you for commenting, and if you like what you see here, please consider subscribing. I would greatly appreciate it. Today I want to talk to you guys about the January 19th, 2015 Wizards of the Coast Banned and Restricted announcement, specifically as it pertains to the Modern format. So that being said, let's get right into it. Wizards of the Coast has banned Dig Through Time, banned Treasure Cruise, and banned Birthing Pod. Now, before I say anything else, I want to say, while I'm glad I'm not going to have to play against Birthing Pod anymore, I really do feel bad for you guys that have invested in that deck, made it the thing that you do in Modern, and are having it banned out from underneath you. If that was going to happen to me, I think I would feel very bad and very frustrated, and I just want to ask you guys to please not quit the format. I think it's a great format, but I do understand your frustration. Anyway, I just wanted to say, hey, you know, my heart kind of goes out to you guys because I know that must suck. So I think Dig Through Time and Treasure Cruise probably were too powerful in the format. I liked casting Dig Through Time, but I do not think that a mid-range deck got as much out of it as, say, some of the combo decks. But, you know, I'm not here to really try to make the justification as to whether or not these cards should or shouldn't have been banned. I'm really here to just sort of, you know, try to do some analysis and talk about, you know, what that means for Modern. Oh, I forgot to mention, they did unban Golgari Grave Troll, and we'll talk a little bit more about him in just a minute. So let's move on. How's this going to affect Modern? Well, I think with Pod being out, that, you know, that Junk is just going to be the best. Well, Junk mid-range, Asban mid-range is just going to be, you know, the best deck next to Pod, most likely. I think that Blue-Red Delver is going to lose its staying power, and I think we're going to sort of see that deck decline, probably, you know, to a level somewhere like it was before, more tier 2. I think that it is possible Blue-Red Delver may morph into some kind of blue-white-red Delver or just white-red tokens list with, let's see, this card coming out. But, you know, I don't really want to speculate on, you know, necessarily new lists. Let's talk more about the bannings. I think we may see more Splinter Twin, and I think some of the reasons are, I think a lot of the people that were playing Twin probably started playing Blue-Red Delver. And I also think that Delver just kind of went underneath Twin and then was able to throw it off its game with remands, mana leaks, and spell pierces and do enough damage to sort of to end the game. Now, I think that Splinter Twin has a rough matchup with GBX because of all of their hand disruption, but they were dealing with that before Khans of Tarkir, and so they'll deal with that in the same way that they did in the past. I think there's a chance that we're going to see more Zoo. Zoo had a pretty bad matchup against Pod, I think primarily because of Kitchen Finks and just all of the life gain that that deck was doing. So I think there's a chance we'll see more of that. I think the meta is going to be a little bit more friendly to the control decks. With Pod being gone, it's going to be easier to close out games. With Voice being gone, it makes counter spells a little bit better. And then with Voice and Kitchen Finks being gone, it kind of makes that targeted removal that a lot of control decks run better as well. We may see some more graveyard-based decks because of Golgari Grave Troll. Now, when this deck was around, I think it was not in Modern, it was in Extended. I wasn't playing then, so I don't really know, you know, how powerful he is on his own. I've heard a lot of people say that he's not as good without Stinkweed Imp, and he's actually fair. But I think with any card that has Dredge 6 on it, which is a ton, you know, getting it in the graveyard early is going to enable a lot of dredging. So I'm sure that a lot of people are going to be experimenting with that. I think blue combo decks lose some of their power, which isn't a bad thing. I think Scapeshift will probably take a hit as well as Ascendancy. You know, Ascendancy is also not going to get to cast Treasure Cruise. And then I think overall the meta is going to get grindier. With Delver being gone, that kind of makes way for control decks to come back into the format. Cryptic Command was real bad against Delver. I don't think that's going to be as big of a problem anymore. Now, with Pod being gone, that kind of makes way for Junk to be the sort of go-to, you know, Asban. I call it Junk and then call it Asban, but Junk / Asban being the predominant deck in those colors. The fact that they're going to bring more hand disruptions also going to contribute to slowing down of the format. And then obviously with Delver losing Treasure Cruise, moving down in power and staying power, I think that's also going to make way for a grindier format, which I'm fine with personally. I actually like playing a grindy game. So I think that's kind of how it's going to affect Modern as a whole. Now let's talk a little bit more about how it might affect the decks I like to play, which is blue, white, red, mid-range. From a metagame standpoint, it's kind of interesting. Our matchup against Pod wasn't great, and our matchup against GBX may be worse, but isn't good either. That being said, that's always kind of been the case. And in the previous meta, when Team Geist really came to the fore, GBX was a popular deck, and we were able to do some things to sort of mitigate the effectiveness, or rather to improve our chances against that deck. And we'll talk about that in just a second. Now, if Splinter Twin is played more, I think that they're a good matchup for Geist. I think they're a good matchup for blue, white, red midrange in general. And if blue, white, red control becomes more prominent as well, I think Geist is great there. And I think that with Geist you have a pretty good matchup against that deck also. If Zoo becomes more prominent, I think because of so much removal, our matchup is pretty good there too. So we'll see how the meta changes, but as you guys know, I really like Geist. I don't plan on cutting him. Maybe incorporating some of the newer cards. I'll bring those up again real quick. Could be Monastery Mentor, or maybe Soulfire Grandmaster. By the way, I meant to show this. If you don't know, or if you haven't seen Golgari Grave Troll, actually I can't bring him up here. We'll look at him in just a moment. Okay, so as far as our list, let's talk a bit about what's going to change. Now, I know not everybody runs the same blue, white, red mid-range list, but we have a lot of things in common. So obviously we're going to get 2 free slots because we have to cut Dig. Give me just one moment. I think we're going to be cutting the Aven Mind Sensors from the main. They were primarily in there to improve our Scape Shift matchup, which has lost a little bit of power. That doesn't mean that they're not going to find a home in the sideboard, but we really had them to try to improve the Pod matchup. I don't think Aven Mind Sensor is very good against GBX decks. I don't think it's very good against control decks. I don't think it's good against Splinter Twin, so definitely not going to be running him in the main. It's also bad against Lingering Souls. We're not going to need Magma Spray in the sideboard anymore. That was really for Kitchen Finks and Voice of Resurgence, and with Pod being one of the most played decks, we were seeing a lot of those cards, so that's going to free up some space there. I think we're going to want Batterskull and Karanos in the main, especially if this is a grindy meta, like I think it will be. A lot of times, with Batterskull and Geist in the same deck, not a lot of times, but sometimes 1 out of every 10, 12, 8, I'm not sure what it is. Probably 1 out of every 10 games, you're able to put Batterskull on Geist and win that way. So it's nice to always have that synergy in the deck. And then Karanos is really good against GBX, good against Twin. It might seem, at first that it's bad against Twin, but we have so much removal to interact with the Splinter Twin combo that those games do go long. So it's good there, and it's very good against any GBX deck as well. Now, Electrolyze loses a bit of utility because Electrolyze was great against the Delver decks, but it's just okay versus Junk. It's good against Lingering Souls. If Bob comes back, it's good against him, but it's not very good against Goyf or Siege Rhino. I think we're going to want Wrath of God or a Wrath effect over Engineered Explosives. Now, it's possible that Merfolk could get better with the banning of Pod because there may be some, less Finxes and I won't say there'll be less Abrupt Decays because GBX runs that as well. But if we see more Merfolk, I think we win Supreme Verdict. But if not, I think we went Wrath of God because of how it interacts with, like the non-regeneration clause in Golgari Grave Troll, or the regeneration clause in Golgari Grave Troll and Throne the Last Troll as well. Also, Engineered Explosives kind of in the pre-Khans of Tarkir meta was a lot of times a sweeper you'd bring in because you could, a lot of times set up a 2-for-1 with Dark Confidant and Tarmogoyf. But Siege Rhino is a very real threat, and you don't You don't want to have your sweeper be something that can't kill it. It's very hard to put an engineered explosives to 4 counters, so I think we're just going to want Wrath of God. Combust is looking like it might be reasonable inclusion, especially if Control comes back. It's good against Celestial Colonnade. If Splinter Twin becomes more prominent, it's very good against them. And it also seems like it may be okay versus Junk List as well. Kills Stirring Wildwood, kills Siege Rhino. And Ghost Quarter is probably going to become fairly important with more manlands coming from Blue White Red Control and the Junk List. It's probably something that we're going to want to include if we can. So that's kind of what I think about how the meta is going to shift, what I think may change with Blue White Red mid-range. I'd like to keep this video short as I can, so I think we're going to kind of cut there, but I do want to show you what some potential lists may look like, and also show you guys some of, let you take a look at Golgari Grave Troll if you haven't seen it, and talk about some of the new cards ever so briefly. So let's take a look at Moto. Now here we have Golgari Grave Troll. Like I said, if you haven't seen him, here he is. This is what he does. I don't really play that kind of deck or those colors, so I'm not going to speculate on what he might do. What I will speculate on is what our lists might look like. This is the blue, white, red, splash black Geist deck. Actually, no. Let's look at this one. This is the one before the ban. Now, I had most recently been experimenting with a main deck Batterskull and cutting a land. I know that seems kind of counterintuitive and it might not be right, but I just wasn't willing to cut any of these other cards. So as we said, we don't want the sprays in the main board. We're not going to have this Aven Mind Sensor. Let's look at what this deck might look like after this dig banning. As I said, we're really going to want to... Oh, come on, Moto. We're going to want to bring the... hold on. Sometimes Moto will not sort, and it's very annoying. But I think if the meta gets grindier, we're going to want a Keranos and Batterskull main. They're just, great game winners. I don't know if we're going to want Vendilion Click. I just kind of threw them in there. I think we may end up running more something like Monastery Mentor, or maybe Soulfire Grandmaster. I'm really not sure. I don't want to speculate too much on, what these cards are going to do, but just based on looking at it without any testing, I think I might rather have a Monastery Mentor than a Vendilion Click, but we'll see. Vendilion, if Control comes back and Twin comes back, Vendilion Click is actually quite good in those matchups. It's really not very good, I think, in the GBX matchup. Sure, you can occasionally get rid of something you don't want to see, like a Liliana, but it dies to Abrupt Decay. They run a lot of redundant cards, so sometimes you may get rid of a Liliana and they just draw another one. And it's not very good against Lingering Souls. We may end up running Tormod's Crypt because of if Golgari Grave Troll, if there is more graveyard-based decks, we'll see. I've been pretty happy with Flash Freeze and testing, and I think it's it's really for Pod. It was great against Pod, and it was good against Junk decks. But we'll see if it doesn't hit as much. It doesn't hit Liliana, for example, but I still think it's very good. I've been very happy with Mirran Crusader. The Junk decks do not run very many Path to Exiles, if any. Sometimes you see 1 or 2. So I think Mirran Crusader is going to be pretty well positioned. I can see maybe leaving in those lists like 2 or 3 Geist and then maybe 3 Mirran Crusaders. We'll see. I still think we're probably going to be able to get value out of slaughter games against decks like Scapeshift, decks like Amulet of Vigor. Now, if you're running, blue, white, red Geist, it's going to be pretty similar, I think. Again, we may not want the Soulfire, or we may not want. Oh, this is the pre-ban. Obviously, the Avens are going to come out. The Magus Praise are going to come out. But let's just jump real quick and look at what a new list might look like. Try to get Moto to sort right away. Nope. I think you have to move this window, as ridiculous as this is, and then it'll sort. Yeah, so Moto sometimes is annoying. So again, we may not want these clicks. Maybe one of the new Cons cards is going to be better, but I think you're also going to want Keranos, Batterskull main. You may not want 3 Electrolyzes if Zoo becomes prominent. Like I said, it's good against Souls and Dark Confidant against the GBX decks, but it's not good against much else. It is a good damage and cycler, but we'll see. You may just end up cutting an Electrolyze and running like 3 Soulfire Grandmasters. Is that the one? Or maybe Monastery Mentor. So yeah, we'll see what happens there. We remove the Magma Sprays. The Tormod scripts are actually, they're probably fairly reasonable against GBX. They can shrink Tarmogoyf, and obviously they're going to be good if Golgari Crave Troll enables more graveyard shenanigans. But anyway, yeah, so this may be what a list ends up looking like for Blue, White, Red. Yeah, as we said before, Combust, might be a good addition in the sideboard. All right, so guys, that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think about how the meta may shift. Let me know if you guys think I missed anything or if I'm wrong about anything. I'm looking forward to hearing your opinions and maybe engaging in some interesting discussion on the comments. Also, I'm going to continue what I started in my last video. I'm going to post these complete lists to my website. I'll probably also go ahead and include the bullet point slides that I covered in the video. So look for that link in the comments. As always, guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for commenting. And if you like what you see here, please consider subscribing. I would greatly appreciate it. Take care, guys, and have a good one. Bye-bye.